Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Padipraja Kacharya Stotra Satushri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Mukund Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamana Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande.
So on behalf of ISKCON of New Jersey and Madan Gopal Prabhu, our usual host, I will be inviting His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj to continue with his reading of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I think Madan Gopal Prabhu may join us a little bit later on in the program, hopefully. He had important business, but there's a new policy, just so everyone knows. In Zoom, everyone now is required to join a waiting room before being admitted to the actual event. So I'll be admitting people as they show up, so that shouldn't be too much of a delay for anyone. And if anyone has questions, they can use the raise hand feature or type their questions in the chat window, and then they'll be able to unmute themselves and also ask their questions on live video should they so choose. And I apologize for leaving anything out, but thank you, Maharaj, for being with us yet again.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to all, and especially to Purva Prabhu and to Purushartha Prabhu and to Kahantri Mataji and all. Om Jnanatmirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakoda Mahyam Dadhati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Pradijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Ladita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanshako Patarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Paditanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The Sutta Goswami has told the sages that the Parikshit Maharaj asked the same questions that you're asking me. So now the Sutta Goswami says, Rajavacha, Samichinam Vacho Brahman Sarvagyasya Tavanaka Tamo Vishiryate Mahyam Hare Katayata Katam. Maharaj Parikshit said, O learned Brahmin, you know everything because you are without material contamination. Therefore, what you have spoken to me appears perfectly right. Your speeches are gradually destroying the darkness of my ignorance, for you are narrating the topics of the Lord. Purport: the practical experience of Maharaj Parikshit is disclosed herein, revealing that transcendental topics of the Lord act like injections when received by the sincere devotee from a person who is perfectly uncontaminated by material tinges. Anaka, Sarvagyasya Tavanaka. You know everything, and you're anaka, free from all sinful life. So, samichinam, what you've spoken is perfectly right. And tamo vishiryate mahyam, your words are gradually destroying my ignorance. Hare katayata katam, by transcendental topics of Krishna. In other words, reception of the messages of Srimad Bhagavatam from professional men, heard by a Karmakandya audience, never acts miraculously, as stated here. Devotional hearing of the messages of the Lord is not like hearing ordinary topics. Therefore, the action will be felt by the sincere hearer by experience of the gradual disappearance of ignorance. Yasya deve harer yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tata guru. Tashaite katita hyarta prakashante mahatmanaha. When a hungry man is given food to eat, he feels satiation of hunger and the pleasure of dining simultaneously. Thus, he does not have to ask whether he has actually been fed or not. The crucial test of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is that one should get positive enlightenment by such an act. So again, the proper hearer and the proper speaker, not the professional person, not the person who's paying his bills by speaking Bhagavad Gita or doing Hari Kirtan, but the person who's Krishna conscious, who's motivated by devotional service to the Lord, and whose life is anagha, free from sins. That reminds me, I think there were some questions that were left hanging at the end of our last session. And if so, you can reintroduce them. And Bhumi is here. Hare Krishna. Obeisances. Okay. Bhuya eva vivitsami bhagavan atmamaya yatedam srijate vishvam durvibhavyam adhishvaraha. I beg to know from you how the personality of Godhead, by his personal energies, atmamaya, creates these phenomenal universes as they are, which are inconceivable even to the great demigods. Bhuya eva vivitsami bhagavan atmamaya yatedam srijate. How does he create this material world? Vishvam, the universe. Durvibhavyam, which is very difficult to understand. Adhishra, even by the great demigods. Purport. In every inquisitive mind, the important question of the creation of the phenomenal world arises. And therefore, for a personality like Maharaj Parikshit, who is to know all the activities of the Lord from his spiritual master, such an inquiry is not uncommon. Well, this is really the sort of a special feature of Srimad Bhagavatam, or of spiritual literature more generally. That these are the questions that we want to know. A child wants to know these things. A truly great scientist wants to know these things. An inquisitive person wants to know these things. Where does the universe come from? Here we are. And of course, we find later that Lord Brahma asked himself the same question. He found himself in the middle of nowhere on a lotus flower and thought to himself, who am I and what am I doing here? And what is this lotus that I'm sitting on? Where did it come from? These are the natural sort of questions that arise in the mind of an intelligent person. Where does everything come from? Scientists are asking this question. But durvibhavyam, it's very difficult to understand. Adhishwarai, even for the demigods, for the great controllers. And what will the scientist understand? The tiny scientist with his telescopes and his research. But still, he wants to understand. So this is a natural impulse of the inquisitive living being. For every unknown thing, well, let's see. Let me take this question first because it applies to the previous verse. The crucial test of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is that one should get positive enlightenment by such an act. The word should implies that there's also a possibility of not getting positive enlightenment by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Aside from hearing from professional reciters, what other factors would come into play? Can we say it's our lack of not hearing with devotion? Yes. If we, both things have to be there. Prabhupada said, if a man is potent and a woman is fertile, by their combination, there'll be conception. So similarly, if the speaker is potent and the hearer is receptive, then we can expect a good result. If the speaker is just looking to make money and the hearer is just putting on a show of pious activity, or he's really, that's what he's interested in, he thinks it's another fruit of activity like so many yagyas and pujas, or if he's encumbered by distraction, especially by sinful activities, then it will be slower. Dipti says, there's understanding of soul, super soul, Vishwarup, but in the end, why is there soul and why even Krishna or the universes? I'm glad there's Krishna. Might be a depressing thought, but have not got this insight yet? Let me know your thoughts. Well, why is there Krishna? First of all, let's talk about the soul later. But Krishna is there by his very nature. He's ever existent. He doesn't require a why. Sarva karana karanam. He's the cause of all causes. Why implies that there's some cause for whatever happens. Why are you driving? Well, because I want to get somewhere. So there's a cause, there's a purpose, and that's the cause. But Krishna, there is no cause. There doesn't have to be a cause. He's the cause of everything. So there's no why does Krishna exist, because that would imply that a cause beyond himself. He exists, that's all. He is existence itself, and he exists. Tulsi Priya says, for his own reason and purpose. Yeah, even he doesn't need a purpose. There he is. And then as far as the soul, he exists because Krishna exists. Just as your fingers exist because your hands exist. Krishna is the living entity, is part of Krishna. And because Krishna exists, we exist. And the universes exist. Of course, the spiritual, or you can say, why do the living entities exist? That's stated that Bahusyama, the Lord decides, let me expand myself, ultimately for enjoyment. That's Krishna's nature. Then and the universes exist, the spiritual universes exist for transcendental enjoyment. The material universes exist for material enjoyment, or for the misguided attempt at material enjoyment. I think that covers the topics put there.
Maharaj?
Yes, sir.
Maharaj, the first question related to today's class is waiting for an answer on the top of the chat.
I see that. Give me a second, I'm just scrolling through it. Oh, learned Brahmin, you know everything because you're without material contamination. I'm having difficulty with learned being the opposite of materially contaminated. My question is, can you give me a practical example that shows that material contamination is powerful enough to degrade the most advanced transcendentalist into a perfect idiot? I don't know that I have to give you an example of the most advanced transcendentalist becoming a perfect idiot, but the Anagha and Sarvagasya, right? Vishvagasya, Sarvagasya. Sarvagas, yes. You know everything, and you're anagha, you're sinless. If you're sinful, you can't know anything, things as they are. Sinfulness, Rabindra Swarup likes to make this point that these four regulative principles are not just moral principles, they're principles for knowledge. That if we want to know things as they are, we have to purify our senses and our mind and intelligence. Otherwise, what is that? Avritam Ganametena Gyanino Nityavairina Kamarupena Kontya. That lust covers the intelligence of the otherwise all-knowing soul. Avritam Ganametena, his knowledge is covered by lust. I could certainly give so many examples of people who become perfect fools because of lusty desire, and do behave like idiots, like idiots, like madmen, like even ordinary men dancing dogs in the hands of a woman because of lust. So this is materially contaminated, and it's the opposite of learned. A person who's learned, dhiras tatranamuyati, he controls his mind, he controls his senses. Sattva sangshuti, he purifies his existence, so then he sees things clearly. In the mode of goodness, that's the sign of the mode of goodness also, that one sees things clearly. In passion and ignorance, that's not possible. And let's see where I am.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vijay Krishna. Now let's see where I am in the chat box. Okay, we covered that. So Marpan Gopa wants to ask something.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, here Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that the devotional hearing of the message of the Lord is not like hearing ordinary topics. Therefore, the action will be felt by sincere hearer by experience of gradual disappearance of ignorance. And there
You've frozen.
That sincere devotee from a person who is perfect.
Well, hold on. You were frozen for a moment. Could you please start there again?
Yeah. So Prabhupada is writing in the third statement, Maharaj, that topics of the Lord act like injunctions when received by a sincere devotee from a person who is perfectly uncontaminated by material tinges. So, and then Prabhupada is telling about the professional hearers. So, Maharaj, these two are extremes. Like, when we are in temple or in community, when we hear, there are many speakers. We don't generally hear from professional people, but we hear from band of different devotees. So, I just wanted to understand what is the response of a sincere devotee, because here it is mentioned that he has to hear from a person who has no tinges of material tinges. So how do we hear basically from some other people who may not be at that level of purification?
Our standard is no intoxicants, no gambling, no meat eating, no illicit sex. Because anagha, one should be free from sinful life. And these are the pillars of sinful life. And therefore, in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam says, no one can dare sit on the asana of Vyas unless he's free from these sinful activities. That's our standard. That's our standard. And of course, those who are seated on the asana, they should be repeating what they've heard from the previous authorities. They don't have to be, they may not be great intellectuals, they may not be the most fully conversant with all the books, but if they can faithfully repeat what they've heard from the authorities, and if they're free from sinful life, the hearers will benefit. Srila Prabhupada responded to this question. There was some question about devotees in New York City not attending the Bhagavatam classes or maybe being picky choosy about them. And Prabhupada pointed out that he himself at that time was staying in Vrindavan, and he was listening to the classes given by his students and was enjoying them. So Prabhupada said, don't try to be a greater Paramahansa than your Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, I remember that letter, Maharaj.
Yeah, very famous letter. So Prabhupada, I'm enjoying, so we should follow in Prabhupada's footsteps. And we'll be surprised sometimes that even what the ordinary rank and file devotee may speak, when heard in a, what would you say, a submissive or honest or open or appreciative fashion, will be very nice. It would be very nice. And sometimes there'll be wonderful realizations there that we might not even hear from the celebrated speakers, the mainline speakers. We can appreciate. And even if they're not the most advanced speakers, we can appreciate, oh, they're speaking about Krishna. It's very nice. And just that exercise will help us. That discipline of not waiting to hear only the mainline 4-star celebrity speakers, but just that we patient. Shushusho Shradhanasya. What is that? Nityam Bhagavata Sevya. Just regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam. The speaker may be celebrated, less celebrated. If we go on hearing, that will be very nice. Okay?
Yes, Maharaj. Means, Prabhupada very clearly says there, translates that everyday attendance in Bhagavatam classes. So that's very clear that we have to hear anyone is speaking. So just appreciate whoever is speaking. That's what you are suggesting.
Yes.
Like,
ultimately, Krishna is coming through that channel. We have to have our instruments tuned so that we can appreciate his presence.
Because such kind of things Prabhupada writes at many places in the purports that don't hear from professional reciters but hear from pure devotees. So it's like a very big band of people. So, yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Uma asks, last week I'd asked a question. In the Grihastha ashram, the riches, the family are potentially entangling. Yet a Grihastha is encouraged to have kids, and that can entangle them further. Is that a wrong understanding that Grihastha should ideally have kids? Yes, it's not wrong, it's correct. Chanakya Pandit says, Griha putrahinam griha shunyam. Family life without children is just void. And in fact, it's said that, what is that? Putrarte, that one should marry for the sake of getting children. Otherwise, what's the point? Family life are potentially entangling. The riches, the family are potentially entangling. Yet a grihastha life is entangling. If you really don't want to get entangled, don't get married at all. But if you're going to get married, then do it, have kids. Best thing is, if you don't want to be entangled, don't get married. But once you've gotten married, then have children, be married. What is that Prabhupada said? Once you've agreed to dance on the stage, don't be shy and think you have to put a veil on. There's a Bengali proverb to that effect. So once you've entered the Grihastha ashram, don't complain about, oh, Grihastha life is entangling. That's the nature of Grihastha life. Children are entangling, children are expensive, they make you work, but this is householder life, that's what's in it. And if you don't like it, then don't get married. Save yourself the trouble. But if you're going to enter married life does ideally, or even the standard of married life is there should be children. Okay. Gurudas says, great devotees like Parikshit and Arjun have this wonderful curiosity. How does Krishna create all of this? I want to see this wonderful universal form. But aside from the wonder of childlike curiosity, another devotee who simply accepts on faith might say, all right, Krishna is granting this desire to see his inconceivable potencies. It seems so wrong to characterize this as a kind of enhanced spiritual sense gratification, for lack of better words. But other than the Lord's pure loving desire to satisfy his devotees' curiosity, I guess what I seem to be approaching indirectly, yes, what are we approaching here, is it okay to strive for pure devotional service without needing to see any mystic potencies of the Lord? Or perhaps it is a sign of further advancement to desire this. Well, the Lord always has mystic potencies. Everything the Lord does is a display of his wonderful potencies. His creation of the universe, his killing of the Putana demon, his dancing with so many gopis at once. Practically everything he does is wonderful. What is there that Krishna does that isn't wonderful? And wonderful means, in one sense, it's a display of his mystic potencies, his internal potency, his external potency, his variegated potencies. So Krishna means Krishna with his potencies. The Mayavadis want to see just Krishna or just Brahman without potencies. Tulsi Priya says that Krishna is carrying Nanda Maharaj's shoes on his head as a mystic potency. Yes. How is such a little child doing this? Okay, I think the question's answered. Tulsi Priya, it seems that if we have humility, then we can learn something even from those who are not as advanced as we think ourselves to be. One thing we can, because Super Soul is directing sincere devotees to speak in certain ways, and they may have different angles of vision. Yeah, one thing we'll find if we attend the classes regularly is, wow, how come that person is speaking better than I would speak? You find that if you listen to the classes, you'll find that, oh, these people are saying things that are better than what I could say. Where'd they get that one from? Where'd they get that verse from? Where'd they get this idea from? Of course, the newer devotees, the effect may not always be that impressive, but if we listen in a spirit of appreciation, we'll find, oh, it's very nice. Even this new devotee is speaking so nicely. And even if they speak simple ideas, we can reflect on it, because have we even understood that we're not these bodies? We still have a way to go. Shall we go on to the next verse? I think we should. Bhuya eva vitsami bhagavan atmamayaya yatedam srijate vishvam durvibhavyam adhishra. Yes, we began, and we were on this point that we want to know about these fundamental questions. How did the world get here? Where did the universe come from? Where did the planets come from? How are these things going on? For every unknown thing, we have to learn and inquire from a learned personality. The question of creation is also one of such inquiries, to be made to the right person. The spiritual master, therefore, must be one who is sarvagya, as stated here and before in the previous verse, in connection with Shukadeva Goswami. Thus, all inquiries on God, which are unknown to the disciple, may be made from the qualified spiritual master. And here, the practical example is set by Maharaj Parikshit. So that's the first thing. This is our way of getting knowledge, to hear from the person in knowledge. And that's our method materially, and that's our method spiritually. And Sukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit are the practical example of disciple and speaker. It was, however, already known to Maharaj Parikshit that everything we see is born out of the energy of the Lord, as we have all learned in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Janmadhyasya yataha. So Maharaj Parikshit wanted to know the process of creation. He knew where creation comes from. It comes from Krishna. That wasn't a question for him. For others, it might be, but not for Parikshit Maharaj. Okay, it's time for someone to mute their microphone. Panchatattva, it might be you or someone else. Okay, so he knew where the universe came from, but how, by what process, that's the question. The origin of creation was known to him, otherwise he would not have inquired how the personality of Godhead, by his different energies, created this phenomenal world. So he knew the origin, it's the personality of Godhead. He does it through his energies, but how? The common man also knows that the creation is made by some creator and is not created automatically. Common man, that means ordinary and intelligent, not extraordinarily intelligent and at the same time overwhelmingly foolish. We have no experience in the practical world that a thing is created automatically. Foolish people say that the creative energy is independent and acts automatically, as electrical energy works. But the intelligent man knows that even the electrical energy is generated by an expert engineer in the localized powerhouse. And thus the energy is distributed everywhere under the resident engineer's supervision. The Lord's supervision in connection with creation is mentioned even in the Bhagavad Gita 9:10, Mayadhyakshena Prakriti, and it is clearly said there that material energy is a manifestation of one of many such energies of the Supreme. Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. An inexperienced boy may be struck with wonder by seeing the impersonal actions of electronics or many other wonderful things conducted by electrical energy. But an experienced man knows that behind the action is a living man who creates such energy. Similarly, the so-called scholars and philosophers of the world may, by mental speculation, present so many utopian theories about the impersonal creation of the universe. But an intelligent devotee of the Lord, by studying the Bhagavad Gita, can know that behind the creation is the hand of the Supreme Lord. Just as in the generating electrical powerhouse, there is the resident engineer. So again, the Mayavadi philosophy is so weird. The creation somehow or other pops out of some impersonal substance. Why? Why should the material world even exist if ultimately everything is one? And they'll say, of course, that it exists because of illusion, but why should there be illusion? So they're hopeless cases. But an ordinary intelligent person understands there must be someone in charge. There must be some higher intelligence. So that's being discussed. The research scholar finds out the cause and the effect of everything. But research scholars as great as Brahma, Shiva, Indra, and many other demigods are sometimes bewildered by seeing the wonderful creative energy of the Lord. So what to speak of the tiny, mundane scholars dealing in petty things? As there are differences in the living conditions of different planets of the universe, and as one planet is superior to others, the brains of the living entities in these respective planets are also of different categorical values. So we're doing research to find so many things, and even materially, there's so many things we can't find out by our research. And we want to understand the cause of creation, the process of creation, by research and speculation. It won't work. Even Muyanti Surya, even great demigods are bewildered. As there are differences in the living conditions of different planets, okay, we read that. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, one can compare the long duration of life of the inhabitants of Brahma's planet, which is inconceivable to the inhabitants of the planet Earth, to the categorical value of the brain of Brahmaji, also inconceivable to any great scientists of this planet. There's different levels of intelligent people, and Brahma's at the summit. And with such high brain power, even Brahmaji has described in his great Samhita, as Brahma Samhita 5.1, as follows. Ishara Padama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. He is the supreme person, and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. So Srila Prabhupada continues in this line where, let's see, we may not read everything because our time is ticking, but Brahma Brahma admits Lord Krishna to be the supreme cause of all causes, but persons with tiny brains think that the Lord is one of them. There's your comparative brain analysis. So when the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita that he's all in all, the speculative philosophers and mundane wranglers deride him. Avajananti mam manashatanamashata. Brahma and Shiva, and what to speak of other demigods, are bhutas, or powerful created demigods who manage universal affairs, much like ministers appointed by a king. The ministers are something, they have some controlling power, but the Lord is Maheshwara, the supreme controller of all other controllers. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, Tumi Sarveshwareshwara Brajendra Kumar. My dear Brajendra Kumar, although you appear just like the coward son of Nanda Maharaj, you're the controller of all other controllers. Moving ahead just a little bit, Maharaj Parikshit did not ask his spiritual master, Shukadeva Goswami, to narrate Lord Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. He wanted to hear first about the creation of the Lord. Sukadeva Goswami also did not say that the king should hear about the direct transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Time was short. Naturally, he could have gone directly to the 10th canto to make a shortcut of the whole thing. But neither the king nor the great speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam jumped up like the organizers of Bhagavatam. They proceeded systematically so that both readers and hearers might take lessons from their example. Those who are in control of the external energy, that means under the control, or in other words, those who are in the material world must first of all know how the external energy of the Lord is working under the direction of the Supreme Personality. afterwards, one may try to enter the activities of his internal energy. So very important point. We've heard it many times and we're hearing it again, that it's important for us first to understand how the Lord is working through his material energies, how he's engaging in the process of creation, just to get a true, what's the word, bearing on the actual position of the Lord, that he's not an ordinary human being, he's the personality of Godhead. The neophyte devotee, instead of jumping at once to the platform of transcendental pastimes presented by the internal energy of the Lord, may know how great the Supreme Lord is by inquiring about the process of his creative energy. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita also, descriptions of the creative energy and the Lord's hand in it are explained. The Chaitanya Charitamrita we hear is the postgraduate science of spiritual life. There also, these topics are explained. The author of Chaitanya Charitamrita has warned the neophyte devotees to be seriously on guard against the pitfall of neglecting knowledge about Krishna in regard to how he is great, how great he is. Only when one knows Lord Krishna's greatness can one firmly put one's unflinching faith in him. Otherwise, like the common man, even the great leaders of man will mistake Lord Krishna for one of the many demigods or a historical personality or a myth only. The transcendental pastimes of the Lord in Vrindavan, even in Dwarka, are relishable for persons who've already qualified themselves in advanced spiritual techniques. And the common man may be able to attain such a place by the gradual process of service and inquiries, as we shall see in the behavior of Maharaj Parikshit. Yes. We still have a few minutes. Rasa Rasika asks, in relation to the spiritual master, therefore, must be one who is Sarvagya. Presuming Sarvagya means one who knows everything, can we expect that it's possible to find such a spiritual master to receive knowledge from? Yes. It doesn't mean that the spiritual master is like the super soul. He knows how many hairs you have growing on your head. He knows everything. He knows Krishna, that's all. He knows the science of Krishna. That's Sarvagya. Not that he can pass some sort of psychological test you've designed to see how many words he knows. Or, no. Okay. Vijay Krishna has a question here. Unbelievers do not accept a supreme intelligence behind the entire show because of envy. They want to be God, and because of wanting to be God, they will never accept that the show is already being enacted. They say, who gave permission to this Krishna to do this or that without my permission? I am the one in charge. Anyone else who dares to do it without my permission must be dismissed. So let's ignore this Krishna because he has no more and no less. He is no more or less than a disturbance. To hell with him. My question is this what the way the demons think? You're not far off. Yes, this is how they think. If you'd like, you can read in the, what is it, 16th chapter, Divine and Demonic Nations, Natures, exactly how they think. You can read, there's several verses about that, how the demons think. If you'd like insight into their worldview, then read those verses of 16th chapter.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Tina says, if one knows Krishna, one knows everything. Yes. Okay. Are there any other questions? Because I don't want to start a new verse. We have 9 left.
I do.
Yes, come on.
I will. Okay. Well, first of
Oh, you froze up. Maybe you need to turn off your video, Kamalini, because you're frozen. Unless, of course, it's my computer that's frozen. But,
okay. My phone died, but now I'm on my husband's. Anyway, just a little comment, like you said, about not that like the guru has to know how many hairs are on your head. And remember that. Oh wow, what is that? Can we turn this off? But anyway, somebody challenged the Prabhupada. Is it echoing for you?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. And they said, since you are the guru, how many windows are in the Empire State Building? So remember, Srila Prabhupada said, how much water is in a mirage? It's all an illusion anyway. But also, you mentioned the Brahma Samhita, but can you tell me the definition of Samhita?
Sangita is a Vedic hymn, really, or collection of Vedic hymns. I'll look it up for you right now in the good old Monier Williams Dictionary. Originally, they're a particular portion of the 4 Vedas, collection of sacred devotional hymns in Sanskrit. Well, that's just the English dictionary. Let's get the Monier Williams dictionary. Okay. Text treated according to euphonic rules, which means the rules of sound, really, especially the real continuous text of the Vedas, the padas, or the separate words, by proper phonetic changes. According to various schools, beside the Samhitas of the Rig, Sama, and Atharva Veda, there are other Samhitas. We'll leave it at that. So it's a collection of texts and verses, particularly coming from the Vedas, although there are other later Samhitas. Generally, the references to the Vedas, which present transcendental sound in the form of these collections of verses. So Brahma Samhitas, essentially we're being told that it's similarly, that it's equal to the Vedic hymns because it's spoken by the Brahma himself, the original Vedic scholar, Adi Kavi. Is that okay?
So, so what he spoke became Veda. Like it wasn't there before he spoke it, right? So it became a Veda. I mean, just like the Shruti and the Shmiti, isn't it like what's spoken, that it becomes the Veda? It's not like always existing, isn't it?
Well, the Vedas are always existing, and they're only manifest when they come out of the flute of Krishna and enter Brahma's ear, and then come out of Brahma's mouth. Or if you try to trace any other way that the Vedas are manifest in human society, however they're manifest, they're eternally existing.
You can't hear it.
Vedic sound is considered Shabda Brahma. It's the absolute truth. Sound. So it's eternally existing. Is that all right? Yeah, we're not hearing you, Kamalini, if you're saying anything.
Okay, sorry. Are you there? Let's see. Is it on?
Yeah, we can hear you, Mother Kamalini.
Oh, I can't.
Yeah, we can hear
Wait a
you.
minute. I can't hear you either. Sorry. I'm trying to use the Bluetooth, but I wanted to take it off so that my husband could hear it, but then I don't know how. But no, it's on. It's on. Yeah.
So you can hear, right?
Yeah. Anyway,
That's okay.
what's okay? It's not on now because it's connected here. Anyway, sorry. I'll have to hear later. Can't hear
Let's
it
just
now.
get down to it. Time is running. Don't want to spend the rest
No, I'll turn it off.
of the
See, how come I can't hear it here? Okay.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Prabhu.
We can hear you.
All right. Well,
Speak.
you can hear me. Well, I can
Yes.
hardly hear you. I think I need to turn off the Bluetooth and
Yes, the
settings.
headphones are connected.
I'm on a phone because our computer is broken. Settings. Here we go. Settings. Settings. And Bluetooth. It is off. Oh, let's turn it off. Yeah, you just touch it. You don't have to. Okay, now it's there.
Very
Right,
well.
now it's here. Let's return to Zoom. Oh, I'm terrible. I'm just terrible.
Very well. Can you hear us now?
There's no sound. Okay. I'm terrible. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Just you're on mute.
It's good. I want to be on mute because I can't hear them. That's all that matters. Okay. Can't hear. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
All right. Looks like they're having
My
technical
phone,
issues.
see how it dies
So,
so easily.
yeah.
I think you can mute Kamalini and we'll.
Yeah. We can continue. I think there was a question from Venkatesh too. I don't know if we addressed that already.
No, it just popped up. And
Yeah,
we've got 0 time for it.
about a minute left. Yeah, I think we'll have to take it the
Next
other
time.
side of our 2-day break. So,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Well, thank you all very much. Thank you, Maharaj. I will apologize that I wasn't there at the beginning of it, but our dear Ekendra Prabhu very kindly covered for me. Thank you very much, Ekendra Prabhu. So I was out. I just got home a few minutes ago. But I did hear most of the class while I was driving. So thank you for another engaging session. So the regular announcements. Those of you who may not be aware, we have the Vanaprastha Adventure. It's a separate class by His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj on Thursdays. This is in addition to the Monday, Wednesday, Friday Bhagavatam class. This is a separate topic, a separate Zoom channel. You can note it down here, or you can just go to Maharaj's website, jswami.info, and the link is there under the About section. So if you're interested in the topic, and it is a pretty popular session, you can join the Vanaprastha Adventure on Thursdays. Pathways to Perfection series continues this Saturday, October 3rd, on the topic of Vishnu Smaranam. And you can make a note of that. It's tinyurl.com/Bhakti Center. This is hosted by Bhakti Center and co-hosted by our New Jersey and New York Gitanagi temples. The personal finance seminar, very well received, and a lot of rave reviews, a lot of practical tips on developing a stable Varnashram retirement situation financially. We have one more session coming up this Sunday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So please join for that. And this week, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj, just arrived back to Towaco today, and that'll continue those 3 nights a week, 8 p.m. And tomorrow we have Dhanya Gaurangi Devidasi speaking on a very important topic of devotee relationships, how the magic happens there. On Thursday, we have a special guest speaker, Rasa Rasika Prabhu, who has given a seminar on japa improvement. For many years, he's been giving this topic. He's very good at it, and we're happy that he'll be able to join us on Thursday. So please make a note to come on Thursday evening. The topic is the japa zone. So please join for that, for those of you who would like to improve their japa. And then, of course, we have our Adi Gadadhar Prabhu on Sunday. He's spoken on this forum several times. And he'll be speaking on the sweet topic of the Gopi Gita in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So be sure to join us on Sunday for that. And we look forward to seeing all of you every day for the rest of the week. And please be sure to attend and participate. Thank you very much. And we'll give everyone about 20-25 seconds to unmute themselves if you like. And we'll say a collective Hare Krishna to Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Maharaj. Thank you.
Wonderful
Thank you.
session again.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
So sweet.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai, jai, jai.
Jai.
Vrinda ki jai.